Welcome back to Raised by Giants live discussion. Welcome everyone in the chat. Good to see you guys and any moderators and channel members out there. Become a channel member and get bonus episodes only for your viewing. A new channel members only video will be out on Friday. Send in your super chats that will be read out live during the show. If you have any questions for our guests today that you would like answers, send in a super chat to make sure the question gets asked. So today we have with us first time guest of the show, Doenut from the Doenut Factory YouTube channel, here to share with us strange news, phenomenons, and occult symbols in the media. And today we're going to be discussing and diving deep into the occult in ufology. Welcome to the show, Doenut. How's it going, brother? It's good to see you.
Yo, what up? Thank you so much, Ryder. This is amazing. We just did a dope podcast over on the Patreon, which will be released next month. Just so grateful to be in your presence and your research, documentaries on all the different topics. And also with this ufology and the occult and the huge disinformation campaign that comes along with this narrative that for myself growing up in the 90s have been really imprinted with the belief system of the alien. So it's kind of going against a belief system to question this narrative.
Yeah, how's that reception been to you? Because we really headed off over on your channel, and I figured this would be a great time to have you over here because you let me have the floor when I was on your channel, and you were sharing some pretty interesting stuff, and it really made me think when it comes to the occult and the esoteric nature of UFOs and extraterrestrials. What is the reception from your audience been when you've been diving deep into these topics and figuring all the myths and disinformation surrounding extraterrestrials and UFOs? How has that been? Because, dude, I got to tell you, on social media, bro, like I get attacked all the time, and I don't talk about it too much because I just let it kind of roll off of me. But I've gotten emails, private messages, like all kinds of insane stuff that don't really only equates to some form of mental illness surrounding the topic. What has the reception been like on your end?
Well, you're going against somebody's religion. And this is what's being set up is a new religion. This is absolutely psychological warfare happening with the UFO flying disc saucers, all this. And there's evidence to prove that. With my audience, I'm lucky in the fact that I could talk about this and nobody cares because they already believe that they are demons. So they don't believe that they're aliens. So questioning that narrative has been very easy. But if I talk about other gods like celebrities, idol worship, I will get a lot of flack sometimes. But you know that's how it is. For me, I love the whole alien stuff. When I'm a kid, I got all the alien gear, and just looking into it in my experience as well. In that cult, I guess you could call it, believing that's what they say. It's belief. The number one poster for the UFO, you could bring up the slide just real quickly, is a belief system. The X Files in the 90s. I want to believe that famous poster, or ET. And when you look into who is behind the scenes advising people like Steven Spielberg in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I believe that's the name of that film, it's people connected in the deep state. It's people connected, and I even got some slides of who they are as well, advising them. And the symbology of these films goes even deeper. That's pretty nuts. But it's an easy transition to talk crap about the aliens.
Yeah, really quickly though, before we get too deep into it, could you let people know about your channel and why you started your channel and how and why, Doenut Factory, and where people can find you.
Oh, for sure. I got a YouTube channel called Doenut, and that's spelled Doenut. I spelled a little differently. And we like to cover strange news, phenomenons, any out there topic. And I really started about 3 years ago. I've been doing music videos for decades. I've been uploading videos to the internet before YouTube. So it's a passion of mine. I worked for a company called AMTV for 10 years, producing all of their videos and content. So I understand YouTube, and it's just my passion. And I grew up listening to, well, maybe not growing up, but listening to Jordan Maxwell, to Sarian, all the greats, and David. There's just so many great people out there that I just grew up listening to. So when I was editing these videos for companies at work, I'm listening to these podcasts talk about subjects that made the world actually start making a little bit of sense.
Absolutely. And what have you uncovered around the symbolism and the occult nature? Because it's really interesting, because a lot of the Freemason stuff, like, I don't even think the Freemasons even know what those symbols mean. Like, if you go to a local Freemasonic lodge today in your local area, and you go in and start asking them about all these symbols and what all this stuff means, they have no idea. And which I think is really interesting. And it brings in the question, have we assigned certain meanings to certain symbols of our own accord, and we've made them mean something that they didn't even previously mean? Which is probably a good place to bring this slideshow back up here. I just think that it's interesting how a lot of the Freemasonic people really have no idea what's going on either.
Oh yeah. So, I love looking into the symbols. Since Jordan Maxwell pointed out Saturn symbols back in like 2010 or whenever that was when I saw it, I just saw it everywhere. And then I started looking more into the symbols, and the Freemason symbols. Here's a couple. I'll pull it up on the slide, but like the tracing board, for example, is the UFO, in my opinion. Right here's Manly P. Hall. You got people that are connected to this whole pushing the alien agenda, looking into these esoteric concepts, even the idea of the gray alien that is talked about looks a lot like Lom, which was Aleister Crowley's, who he saw the alien. And oh, here's a couple more slides, and I could pull them up. But yeah, this Freemasonic symbolism is all over the place when I look at the symbology of the cow, right? The cow mutilation, I believe, is the checkerboard. And that might sound kind of silly, but I will definitely show some slides, and then maybe it won't be as silly.
And this
But
is Krishna right here, right?
yes, this is Krishna. So the idea of a disc or a saucer is already in the collective unconscious, as Carl Jung would call it, I guess. And he wrote books on the UFO. So these ideas of symbols are easy ways to manipulate our consciousness, and they can get perverted and used, and people go to war over symbols. There's power in symbols. But when the aliens invaded in Las Vegas, they showed the Simpsons character wearing the checkerboard floor right there, which reminds me of the cow. And the cow is sacred. But you could see Ezekiel will, Carl Jung's will, the disc. Because what I believe is happening is they're setting up for this religious, new religious system that's being built.
Yeah, everyone likes to reference the Book of Ezekiel, the Book of Enoch for evidence of extraterrestrials and aliens. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned that Kenneth Arnold was one of the first people to actually equate the flying disc and the flying, well, he never really called it flying saucers. It was something else. And the news media misquoted it as being flying saucers in shape. But as far back as I can tell, Kenneth Arnold was one of the first people to equate the Book of Ezekiel into ufology. And
Wow.
then it later got picked up by Eric von Daniken and Ancient Aliens.
Wow. Well, yeah. Well, this meme magic with ancient aliens, right? This is how they get into the psyche of the collective, is through meme magic. Donald Trump, for example, rose to power through memes. So did Andrew Tate. Elon Musk, crypto, Dogecoin. The power of a meme, the power, which actually goes back to Timothy Leary, who was talking about it, which is connected into this whole new religious programming. And the horns are a disc too, which is the letter A. The letter A is the bull horns, and the bull is the cow. Right there's Mithra with the cow, the sacred cow, and I call them the Illuminati cows, which goes into that topic, which where they do the experiments on the cows.
Do you think
Can,
that the cow
can
thing
you?
is a military operation though, like the cattle mutilation? Do you think that that's the military messing with animals?
Oh, it absolutely is. Can you hold on just a minute? I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole thing from the cattle mutilation came from Paul Benowitz in 1979. His first journey into the extraterrestrial realm came from a cattle mutilation conference, where he was introduced to government agents and military operations surrounding cattle mutilations in Arizona and in New Mexico. And that's really where all the cattle mutilation stuff really started at, was with the loose base in New Mexico. And then it springboarded into extraterrestrials are connected with these cattle mutilations. And then it becomes Paul Benowitz then gets basically infiltrated by the military Air Force agents come to Paul Benowitz and they're like, "Hey, I see that you're getting some strange, you're capturing some strange lights over the military base. This might be extraterrestrials." And then Paul Benowitz already thought that maybe it was extraterrestrials. So the Air Force special agents coming in and telling, well, maybe it is extraterrestrials, just reinforced that narrative into Paul Benowitz's head. And then it becomes this huge thing. The NSA gets involved. NSA is across the street beaming frequencies and stuff into Paul Benowitz's antenna to make him believe that he's in communication with extraterrestrials. It's so wild.
Yeah. Poor Paul Benowitz. And that's what I really liked about your research, is that you really dive deep into the factual evidence of the connections. I'm looking into the symbols, but I also have been studying the evidence. And here's another slide real quick on Edward Lansdale. And shout out to Matt Arrett. I mean, you got a podcast with him. He's been doing some great info. That's where I learned about Paul Benowitz's MK Ultra and how they were feeding him all this false information to make him go crazy. But Edward Lansdale did these psychological operations in the Philippines, and he was tapping into the mythology of the Filipinos and this vampire called the Aswang, I believe. I don't know how to pronounce it. But what they would do was take bodies and suck them dry, just the same as the cow. And he would use these mythologies to move it into this whole cow mutilation. So these mythos and stories of vampires, the occult, these intelligence agencies, and the UFO are all part of the same operating system in a sense. And it's also his birthday today, February 6th.
Oh, dang. What a coincidence right there, bro. Dang.
It's also Adam Weishaupt's birthday as well, February 6th.
Happy birthday, Edward Lambsdale.
Yeah, and Adam Weishaupt too.
Yeah, and Adam
Yeah.
Weishaupt. Wow. Incredible. Synchronicity, bro.
Synchronicity. Yeah. So who you were talking about, Senator Schmidt,
Yes.
he is this astronaut who took a picture of the blue marble. If you believe that or not, you can look at it and you can see it's Photoshop. But you got NASA connections putting on the cattle mutilation conferences.
Yep.
It's I even got the story in here right here. Oh, next slide. Perfect. FBI joins investigation of animal mutilations. And this was the event put on by Harry Schmidt.
Yep.
Schmidt, yeah. It's absolutely it's all there. All the documents. Even this first slide, I'll just skip through real quick. Sorry, I'll just do blah 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 blah. But this first slide, I got this from Matt Ehret's Substack. And Walter Bedell Smith, he was a high-ranking Mason. And in 1952, the CIA director wrote to the director of the Psychology Strategy Board of the CIA saying that the UFO is psychological warfare. It appears to have implications of psychological warfare. So right there, it's saying that this is a mind control. This goes into mind control.
Yeah, and that's what Carl Jung was pretty much saying as well, that it's psychological, it's like perception. What you're seeing is like your perceptional views of the time. That's why some people claim to see disc back in the day, and now it's evolved into something completely different than like it was in ancient times. It used to be shields in the sky and pillars and all that, and then it's evolved because our brains have evolved, our minds have evolved.
Yes. And I'm not ruling out that there's not a phenomenon that is going on. It could be plasma balls, right? Coming through intelligence that way. So I'm not throwing everything out, but the Blink 182, TMZ, which is owned by Fox, which is owned by Disney, putting this into the minds of us, that is very questionable for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like a controlled way. I mean, people in the community call it a drip disclosure. You know what I mean? They'll just drip out a few little things here and there and get people's minds adjusted to the idea of extraterrestrials when they've never said that extraterrestrials are real. That's the thing. See, people they think that because the Pentagon comes out and says that UFOs, or what they've changed it into now, UAPs, are real, and they're confirming that means that extraterrestrials are also real. That is not the case. They've never said that extraterrestrials are real, or that they exist, or that they're the ones that are in control of the craft.
Right. And we see at Congress, straight out the UNESCO heritage site, they're finding these aliens that look just like ET, right? Eric Torres, the extra testicle, that's ET. And the question is, why is the United Nations, UNESCO, founded by Julian Huxley with his connections to Aldous Huxley, the Doors of Perception, really kicking off the research of resetting the autonomic nervous system through the schizogenics of a blank slate of belief system to put something new in there. Julian Huxley, who created UNESCO, a big eugenicist, and also worked with the wildlife stuff. So anytime you hear about the environment, like a Georgia Guidestones, the environment, well, that's just propaganda for eugenics. Just like propaganda just changed to public relations. So UNESCO is putting out these aliens. So you know for a fact that the aliens, whatever story they're going to tell us, is going to be connected to something about the environment and how we're going to need to help the environment. And you can even see this in the programming with movies, like the one with Pratt. Was that his name? Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt, and he is finding these aliens because the snow melted, which released the aliens because of the weather changing. So you can see that kind of mixed in with the Hollywood narrative. And that movie came out on 7/2, which is July 2nd. Very important day. That's National UFO Day. It's wild because the Rothschild magazine, the Economist magazine, that does all the predictions on the cover, showing us the symbols of what's about to go down. They talked a lot about how important this day is, National UFO Day. And there's two dates, July 2nd and June 24th. Both very, very occult. Goes into Freemasonry, goes into Knights Templar. June 24th is John the Baptist Day. John the Baptist, very important to the Templars. July 2nd is the founding of America. It's not July 4th, it's July 2nd, 7/2. Even 7/2, there's 72 bricks on the pyramid on the back of the dollar. This leaves 182 days left until the end of the year. So there's this Blink 182 connection there. And
wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. Wow. And also the aliens invaded an Independence Day on July 2nd.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up a lot of the stuff about the environment and stuff, because that goes back to the earliest channelers of the time, like in the early 50s, like right around when the CIA is doing their MK Ultra programs. All of these UFO cults start popping up, and all of them have claimed to have channeled some extraterrestrial race, whether that's the Great White Brotherhood, the Brotherhood of Light, the 33 Confederation of Galactic Planets, whatever nonsensical name that they want to call Ashtar Galactic Command. And almost all of them verbatim talk about the environment, that we have to treat our planet better. We have to clean up our oceans and like all this pollution and get rid of all this stuff. And it's almost like a script. They all talk about almost the exact same things, and it's just been twisted and molded just a little bit. They all have some sort of prediction that never comes true in the future. Some of them are very short-lived. Some of them, they put the date out really far in advance, like Rael from the Raelian called in 1974. He put the prediction of the Elohim landing and giving us all of their free technology and their cloning and all that in the date of 2035. Some of the dates are really quick, and then some of them they've put them so far in advance, by the time it happens it's not going to matter anymore. The person that made the prediction is either going to be dead, or by that time no one cares anymore, or they've forgotten. And Netflix is actually putting out a documentary on Rael and the Raelian cult that comes out in 2 weeks, and I covered that cult in my UFO Doomsday Cult series, part 2, episode number 2, back in July of last year. So it's just interesting.
Yeah, the Raelians, very important. Funny that they're now Netflix, which is connected to Edward Bernays and the propaganda machine, that they're putting out this Raelian thing, because Kanye, he put out his Raelian tweet, and he was removed with 322 subscribers. So you could just see the symbolisms through the numbers and the signs And the symbols, they tell us, oh no, it means this one thing, because you look at it, it's I think a very theosophical kind of symbol that they're using. But they tell you it's for one reason, but that's for the uninitiates. The initiates see these symbols in these movies and even leave the world behind. Huge ritual there. But the Obamas putting that on in their next film is the Betty and Barney Hill incident.
No way they're covering the Betty and Barney Hill incident?
That's going to be the Obama's next film, is
On
the
Netflix?
Betty and Barney Hill. I'm not sure if it's going to be on Netflix, probably, because that's that whole leave the world behind connection there as well.
Wow, I did not know that. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Did not know. How long has that been in the works? Hold on, let me look this up.
Yeah, you know, I think it's been in the works longer than Leave the World Behind.
Is it going to be a documentary or an actual like retelling movie?
It's probably going to be a documentary from what I've read, but I'm not sure. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, I would like you to find all of that out. But just the name, Betty and Barney Hill, right? That's the Flintstones. And the cartoons played a big role in the programming to the aliens. We were just in, well, we still are in the year of the rabbit, and there's a rabbit on the moon. And this rabbit on the moon is connected to the psyche as well. The Maya moon goddess is depicted holding a rabbit. But in Hollywood, you'll always see the rabbit, Bugs Bunny, next to E.T. This is in the movie Gremlins, because the first abductee was actually Bugs Bunny by Marvin the Martian. But you know what? You could fact check me there.
Here's the story. White Mountains, a UFO abduction story of Betty and Barney Hill coming to Netflix with new feature film. One of the most notorious alien abduction stories in American history is Betty and Barney Hill. They were first Americans to come forward with the claim that they had been abducted by UFOs and experimented on. Now Netflix will be bringing their story to a streaming platform with a new film be titled White Mountains. The movie will also be written in screening partners with Beckley Leah, Mario Karopli. I just butchered his name. People will kill me on this pronunciation of this stuff. The writing duo also pinned the 2014 movie The Republic of Rick, which on Netflix also reports that the feature will be produced by Higher Ground Production, the production company of former President and First Lady Barack and Michelle Obama. Wow. Netflix formed a partnership with the former first couple, and this film will be the new addition to their growing roster of films after titles like Kevin Hart's Fatherhood and Michael Keaton's Worth. Wow.
Yeah, and right there, you can get the communist agenda in it, because of the Dems, right? The mob. The demo means mob. It's the mob rule. And Jordan Maxwell, who I got to speak with 4 times in my life, which I'm super grateful for, brought up the communist agenda through the dawn of the new day. That was his like big video that he did, where it's a sunrise over a mountain. And he told a story how Pharaoh, there's going to be a new religion, and that would be the symbol. And that's the symbol for world communism. And in the show V, the old one, which is the V, is kind of interesting that you brought up, that's actually the shape of the saucer is like a V. I just notice a lot of things, even the alien egg. I'm always looking really deep. Even in the alien egg, there's a V in it. But he brought up how they brought up the dawn of the new day. This is something the Clintons talked about. And if you show this slide right here, it's connected to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I believe that's the name of the movie. And before I get into the symbolism of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, because that symbol of that film right there is an ancient symbol that Mr. Billy uses. I don't even want to say his full name. He uses it in his books. It's an ancient symbol, but this guy right here, Joseph Allen Hynek, born May 1st, Illuminati Day. I'll just read this. Robertson panel was overseen by the astrophysicist who worked on the Manhattan projects named Joseph Allen Hynek. And this guy, he was very into the occult and Manly P. Hall. He even created his own secret society based off Rosicrucianism. And just notating that looks like a UFO in that middle of Dante's like Masonic Dante thing. But this guy was connected to Project Sign, Project Grudge, really putting out the propaganda to this fake UFO stuff. And he was the advisor for Spielberg in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. If you hide the slide, I can kind of scroll through it so it's not like popping up like crazy. But this symbol goes into the communism part of it all. Let me see. There's so many slides. I seriously have like 67 slides. Okay. In this one slide, I don't know if you want to show it or not. It's the next one. It's Bill's book. Maybe I won't show it.
Yeah, maybe skip over that one.
Yeah. Okay. So this symbol right here. Yeah, maybe if you close it, because there's a book. Just look up Bill's book. It's about like lockdown stuff, but you can open it back up again. The Denver airport also uses this symbol. Yeah, it's
that one looks kind of upside down.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But it's the symbol of a sunrise over the mountain range. Yeah.
What was that Tesla thing that you just brought up?
Yeah, so I like to look into the words, the etymology, and the Mars attacks Martians right here. They got the brains of dolphins, which is very important to the alien research with John C. Lilly. John C. Lilly's research in his book, Metaprogramming, which I have not read because it's kind of a headache and difficult, but I'll keep working on it. But I read the more simplified one by Robert Anton Wilson, Prometheus Rising, which goes into these circuits. Timothy Leary took it as well and made his like 9 circuits. So it's like John C. Lilly's metaprogramming, the body is a computer, how to reprogram it in a sense, so you can put new belief systems in. Timothy Leary took it. There was like 9 things. And then Robert Anton Wilson did the best job and he simplified it into 4. And this is resetting the autonomic nervous system, the belief system, which is a real thing. A placebo effect is real. If you believe it, it's going to work. So belief systems are very real. And the way they reset this autonomic nervous system is through the schizogenic, hallucinogens, all the stuff that all these big podcasts that bring on these UFO people also like to push. You know, they also like to push, take this, take that, take this, and aliens, yeah.
Then you'll see the aliens for real, bro.
They will see the aliens for real, though, for sure, for sure. But the brain of the Mars attack is the brain of the dolphin. And John C. Lilly's work was funded by the government so he could touch the dolphins, play with the dolphins, give them LSD, which goes all the way back to the Eleusinian mystery cults. But they were communicating with the dolphins so they can communicate with the aliens in the ocean. All the alien UFOs aren't coming from the sky. They're coming from the ocean. But even the aliens that are in the sky, right? Like I'm out here in Arizona in Phoenix. We have the Phoenix lights on March 13th. that is the exact same day that Trump came out and was like, yo, this is an emergency a few years ago. So there's something with dates. They seem to pick certain dates to do certain things. But the dolphins' connections to the aliens, you probably remember this game, Echo, the dolphin. It was based off of John C. Lilly's research, and it's about dolphins fighting aliens in that game. Yeah. There's a lot of video games that show the bunny too. I think this is Doom.
Wow, so they're drugging dolphins to go down into the extraterrestrial underwater bases and fight aliens. Wild. But that's what I've been trying to tell people for a while on my show, is that that is the next big thing. And it was talked about, I think we talked about it on your show as well, that end of that TMZ documentary, UFO Revolution, in the third episode, they had a section on USOs. And I've been trying to tell people, like, that's the next direction that they're going to start pushing. This is going to be in the ocean. UFOs going into the water, coming up out of the water. There's going to be a big emphasis on the ocean, and that's going to bring about a whole other speculatory discussion with theories of extraterrestrial bases underneath the water, and bring about a whole new wave of speculation, because people don't really want the answers to any of this stuff. That is what I found. They don't want the answers. They want things that can easily be turned into something else that just fuels more theories and more speculation. Because if the question is answered and people know what it is and know what's going on, then that completely shuts down the entire community. No one is going to be able to make any more money off of the community because the question has been answered. So that's the thing that I figured out about this community, about the alternative community, about ufology in general. You don't ever give any answers if you want to be popular and if you want to be invited to these conferences to speak. You can't talk about this kind of stuff that we're talking about. You have to get into the lore and the mythology and go back to Roswell and like that the government is covering up alien activity and like all this, and then it never gets you any closer to actually what's happening.
Well, I'm happy you brought up that, because that's kind of what really started waking me up. Was I wanted to go to one of these UFO conferences so much that I emailed them 3 years in a row and they denied me each year. And from what I was finding, covering just the idol worship of celebrities, that's it. Just I was like, I thought there was aliens and all this, and but I started questioning Tom DeLonge, who's straight connected to Scientology and other UFO cult, and Harold Putoff. Harold Putoff's his handler, who is straight connected to the Paul Benowitz, MK Ultra, feeding him the information. And I was asking them to let me come on their stage in Laughlin to talk about the UFOs. And I wanted to talk about Tom DeLonge and how this is all brainwashing, and they never let me in. So then I started diving deeper with my audience as well. My audience puts great information in, and we work on this together to look for these truths and things. But I'm happy you brought that up, because that's really what got me going down this rabbit hole with this UFO, and then all the great researchers like yourself and all that showing that.
Yeah, they don't want people like that because it's not marketable. You can't market that kind of content, because that kind of content actually gives you answers, and that kind of content has facts, and that content has evidence, right? And if there's one,
right,
if there's one thing that the UFO community does not like, is evidence and facts.
Yeah, well, that's also the majority of the public. The public wants sensationalism, crazy stories, the crazier headlines, the crazier stories, that Miami aliens, all this stuff. That's what they want, they believe. I've seen so many videos. My channel could be much bigger and more profitable if I just went with that sensationalism. But the truth is stranger than fiction. Like, I honestly think that the people that are putting out the sensational content, maybe they're going to be boosted with a payroll by the CIA, but long term, it's not fascinating at all. The truth is stranger than fiction. This is much more fascinating, that the whole alien thing was created by these secret agencies that are straight connected with the occult. That's way more what, like, so in the long term, I think the stuff that we do will last longer.
I agree, absolutely. And then I think people are really wising up and they're understanding it more. And I think that they're really trying to get to the bottom of it, but not on UFO Twitter, dude. If you talk about this stuff on UFO Twitter, bro, it is going down. You're going to get attacked and ridiculed and say that you don't know what you're talking about, even though you've been looking into it for years and years and years and have done all this research. They treat you like you have no idea what you're talking about because it destroys their ideology. It hurts their religion and it hurts their cult. And that's what it is. It's a cult. There's no other way around it. And
Mm-hmm.
I've done a huge series on these UFO cults, and it's all regurgitation from all of these UFO cults. I mean, I know that you look up to Jordan Maxwell. You mentioned him a couple of times in this, but he's even regurgitated stuff from these UFO cults. Lots of people have regurgitated the same things that these UFO cults were talking about all the way back to the early 30s, spanning that far back.
Absolutely. Yes.
So let's get into. No, go ahead.
No, absolutely. And the more you learn about it, it's like anybody is capable of falling for many of these narratives that are released. Even myself have fallen for a lot of these alien stuff because in the 90s, that's when I grew up and that's when it was all rolled out. And it makes it simpler. It's simpler to say, yo, it's this one group of people, or yo, it's this. When you break it down into a two-party solution, then that it's simple. It's either they're UFOs, balloons going over the Super Bowl, or it's China spying on us. You only have those two options. Nothing else. That's the only two options you're given. It's a UFO or it's China balloons. That is the Carol Quigley divide and conquer strategy, giving us the two different things because it's simple. And the public, they want simple. They don't want to think. They don't want ideas. What we're doing is complicated. So it's either easier to be like, yo, it's this group and that's it. Or it's an alien and that's it. It's much deeper than that.
That's exactly what they did. They called all those spy satellites UFOs and UAPs, and didn't give any other context to it.
Right.
And it turns out to be spy satellites. It's unbelievable. Let's jump back into these I got slides really quickly.
Ton of slides, and this one I didn't get to really answer what it was, but I was looking at the Mars attack, like that's what they say, the AK, and there's a lot of symbology with that's 21, right? That's blackjack. That's the BJ, Boaz and Jachin, the two pillars. But the A and the K is connected to the X because X. I know your movie, you have the X in it, right? We're in numerology and numbers and all that. We're in 2024. 24 is the letter X. Elon is known as the X, and this stuff right here, these symbols. I'm just looking at the etymology of stuff, like the Tesla logo looks like God, which is Neter, which is an axe. So that's what I'm looking at. And even the Tesla symbol and the Biden symbol, you'll see these three lines, which is chi, which is X. And you go back, it's okay. So I'm looking into stuff like that. I'm not saying there's an answer here or anything. I just find it interesting slides, and maybe your audience could kind of see what I'm looking at. And also Jordan Maxwell, he broke down the word alien, right? And he connected it to mechanics lean, a lean. You just put a lean together, it's alien. So all the words and etymology of stuff is used. Neil Armstrong is alien backwards.
That's an interesting one. Another interesting thing about the Apollo missions, Project Mercury was the first human spaceflight program in the United States, and it ran from 58 through 63. And the shuttles they used was named Atlas, which Atlas in mythology was a Greek god. It was a titan that was condemned to hold up the heavens or the sky for eternity. And then when you look at Project Gemini, which was the second one, the second U.S. human space flight shuttle program to fly, conducted after Project Mercury, which those shuttles were also called Atlas and the Titan 11. They just went ahead and called it Titan on the second one. And then you get the Apollo missions, which everyone knows the Greek god Apollo, one of the Olympian deities in Greek and Roman mythology, which Apollo is the god of archery, music, dance, truth, prophecy, healing, and the sun, which is really interesting. I think a lot of this goes back to sun god worship, but do you have any thoughts and ideas of why a lot of these programs were named after gods and deities when it surrounds NASA? Now, NASA wasn't formed yet whenever these first projects were going on. They were actually Project Mercury and Gemini were done by the Air Force, but later on, you still get the Apollo missions, and you get all these missions and names and spacecraft named after Greek gods and deities.
Yeah, it must invoke some sort of energy, like even Trump, his where they filmed The Devil's Advocate in his house is dedicated to Apollo. So there's something to it. Celebrities, U2, U2 is like a sun god, as I believe as well, and they named Area 51 after the U2 plane as well. That, or at least that's right. Maybe they didn't name it after it, but that was like a big part of it. Maybe they're just like invoking some sort of energy. Why do these artists, Miley Cyrus, right? Cyrus, that's not their real name, but they call themselves the Cyruses, like Cyrus the Great, or Drake is the sixth god, and that's Saturn, the sixth planet. And he names his son Adonis, which goes into, so in episode 33 of Star Trek is Adonis, pray for Adonis, or mourn for Adonis. So there's something up with using these different gods' names, archetype. I'm not sure what it is.
Don't you have Adonis Creed in the Rocky movies, right? His name's Adonis Creed.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Yeah. Adonis is very interesting to research as well. The story of Venus and Adonis, and the symbol of the rose is something I've been looking into quite a bit. I could keep on moving these slides as well. I got a bunch. Maybe I could find a cool one to pop up on. Yeah, just to be safe. I mean, there's just so many different slides. I'm so all over the place.
There might be Apollo. I think it's Apollo Creed in Rocky. I might have got that wrong, but why did I think Adonis Creed? Maybe that's his dad. I'm not sure. People in the chat will correct me, but I think there's Adonis Creed and Apollo. Maybe it's Apollo Creed. I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
I'm not too big on the Rocky franchise or the Rocky movies.
I think these slides will be good for the occult and the ufology, something to show with the Masonic symbols.
Oh yeah, hold on. Sorry, I was trying to look that up. All right, boom.
Oh yeah, so July 2nd, this is National UFO Day. It's the day the country was founded, and then Benjamin Franklin switched it to July 4th. And the reason they picked these dates like July 4th is all because of Sirius, the Sirius star system, and the helical rising is very important. There's a big connection to the helical rising and a lot of the release of information of UFO stuff as well, I've noticed. But July 2nd leaves 182 days remaining into the end of the year. The people in control of the brainwashing is for now is Blink 182 and their Kardashian connections, Scientology connections, and the bunny. The bunny is connected to the moon and connected to the aliens through Hollywood. Even this bunny right here is a third realm symbol. I won't even say the word of it, but it's a symbol that goes into UFOs as well. And Mad Magazine, where they're pulling a bunny out of the hat, it's issue number 182. Are these just all like coincidences or breaking through the matrix? Or is there something else? Because Life Magazine with Marilyn Monroe on it, they were talking about the saucers, and that was put out by a member of Skull and Bones. So this goes back then. But Independence Day, they were invaded by the aliens on July 2nd. And the symbol of the UFO shooting down the beam through Polaris is the Masonic tracing board that you see right here, where you got Polaris, the 8-pointed star, which is also Ishtar. But the 8-pointed star is Polaris on the Masonic tracing board, and the Jacob's ladders going down onto the checkerboard. And I'm like, that looks just like a UFO. And then I looked even more into it, and when I look at the UFO ship, it is Polaris. Like the star is Polaris. I'll see if I have a slide of that. Yeah, it's right here. It's hard to see, but it's the 8-pointed star that it is that.
Yeah, that's incredible. Going Polaris also being Jacob's ladder, also looking like a UFO tractor beam, beaming people's up, taking Jacob's ladder into the UFO.
Well, these symbols are like all there. And H.G. Wells, which I heard he like got around with either Aldous Huxley or Aleister Crowley, doing some sort of like swinging with them. I don't remember who. I remember reading something about that. But the UFO, this was the original Project Bluebeam through the newspapers, and that gets even deeper into, there is connections to these 3-letter agencies with that show as well, in that radio broadcast. But his UFO is the same symbol as the 3 pillars when they lay the cornerstone down, like in masonry. Like right there's George Washington laying the cornerstone for the White House, and the 3 pillars. It looks the same to me.
Yeah, is that the one up in the top? That's War of the Worlds?
Yes, this is War of the Worlds.
What's this one down at the bottom? Where is that one from to the bottom right?
That's War of the Worlds, a dedication to H.G. Wells. The top one is the Scientologist Tom Cruise's movie. But they both use this 3-pillar alien. It could be a stretch. It could be a stretch. I just look at what the things look like.
Well, then you also have that Orson Welles radio transmission that freaked everybody out, which happened, I think, in the 30s, right? Then you fast forward a little bit into the Ashtar Galactic Command that I think we covered on your show, which was almost the exact same thing, of the radio broadcast system being hijacked, and this voice comes over the radio and is like, this is really from the Ashtar Galactic Command. Lay down all your nuclear weapons or prepare for immediate annihilation, which turned out to be a hoax as well. So, but that gets installed into people's memories. I mean, a lot of this stuff is hoax stuff. I mean, the very first fairy photos were hoax fairy photos, where these two girls cut out cardboard cutouts of fairies and posed with them in photos, and the occult societies of that time took them to be real. I mean, the first giant that was ever supposedly dug up in the United States was a fake planted giant that was made for someone got into an argument about giants in the Bible, and he commissioned this dude. He paid him like $2,000 to make this sculpture of a giant, and went out and buried it. And then 2 years later, had some archaeologists come and dig it up, and then it becomes this big, huge sensation.
Oh
I mean,
yeah, and
hoaxes have been around for so long.
yeah, and I like that you brought up fairy, because a fairy is a sprite, right? And a sprite is a vampire as well. And so this whole mythology of the fairy or the sprite or the elf goes back to like vampires as lore. And it's interesting that Lansdale's cow mutilation ideas coming from a vampire, uh, where they would hang up people and suck their blood out. So there's this vampire connection to everything as well. This is a Doja Cat and Lom, and I feel like she was imitating Lom. I mean, this looks just like that. Talking about these musical artists, the musical artists are the mystics, Blink 182, whatever, pushing certain agendas.
Someone
And
said in the chat that we shouldn't be blaming Blink 182 for Tom DeLonge. Tom DeLonge is separate from Blink 182 and is doing her own. And I kind of agree with that, because the guys from Blink 182 really aren't interested in a lot of the stuff that Tom DeLonge has gotten into in TTSA and all that stuff. So
I would
I don't
argue
know.
that with the drummer who's connected to the Kardashian clan. You know what I mean? You got what's his name? Travis Barker.
Yeah.
But to be fair, Tom DeLonge is just a fool, and has a handler who's Harold Putoff, who is like a genius guy, and they're utilizing him. So
Just like I think all of them really are. Jeremy Corbell's being fooled. George Knapp's being fooled. They're all the big name UFO people. I don't think
sure.
that they're purposefully putting things out as mis and disinformation surrounding UFOs and extraterrestrials. I think they're being fooled like everyone else is being fooled.
Right. And here's Doja Cat at iHeartRadio. This is before she was very popular. And here's her getting abducted by the twerking aliens. So I've been seeing this in the idea of the music industry. And she started off as a meme of a cow. And the cow gets abducted too. So like this whole storyline of watching her career, where now she throws these secret society parties with Justin Bieber, but just watching the symbolism of her career of the cow. Then she got abducted by the twerking aliens, and then she's performing on an Illuminati capstone, Eye of Providence type of symbolism. And then she's awarded with Grimes, where they're both aliens in it.
Where was this performance at? When did this performance take place?
These are at like the iHeart Music Awards,
Oh.
and I believe the VMAs or the Grammys. I think it was the VMAs. But just the symbolism of Doja Cat and my hypotheses with all that, and just the symbolism. Like here's Schmidt doing that triangle hand sign.
Do we know what that hand sign means? Do we know what that is?
It seems to be the yoni, which is the female genitalia, but it also could be some sort of like NLP that I don't really know. That's the next topic I'm going to start researching, some NLP stuff. But we can see Oprah does it. A lot of these celebrities do it. It's an upside down pyramid. A lot of Illuminists do it as well. There's a lot of evidence of that.
Well, I have a video here that I want to share to kind of give a different perspective on it, because some people think that this is like a mudra and it doesn't mean anything negative, and I'm not either way on it. I just think it's interesting to look at different perspective, and I'm not bashing your perspective at all. I just think that it's important to look at things from all angles. And here's a video that I actually saw today before I had you on that I want to play real quick.
Nice. And information is not static. So like that. So once people get stuck in their dogma belief systems, then it's just.
Oh, it's not letting me play it. Oh, here we go.
Is that Merkel? Yes, excellent. She's doing it. She's good at that. Is that Bob Proctor? Shout out to Bob Proctor.
Yes, I believe that it is.
Is that a bluebird? They found the holding it promotes cooperation between the right and left hemisphere. That means it balances the left and right hemisphere. Oh, really?
Yeah. Sorry for if it was super loud or whatever.
We didn't hear any of the sound actually.
Well, the sound didn't come through?
No. But that is an interesting. There's this new book on the right and left hemisphere by Ian McGilchrist, I believe his name is.
Can the audience let me know if they heard the audio for that, please?
Yeah, I think the audio was way, way low. I don't think anyone heard it because I would have heard it.
That's unfortunate. StreamYard just messed it up, but it probably did that for a reason.
Yeah, maybe
normally when I bring it right onto the screen, it automatically plays, but I actually had to play it from my desktop, which is really strange and weird. So sorry guys, there wasn't any audio to that, but basically what the video was saying was that the hand signal like that is like this is like a mudra that is activating your the right hemisphere of the brain, which then gets into the Kundalini energy. It doesn't cover it in the in this video, but the Kundalini energy going up through all your chakras and then hitting the right hemisphere of the brain and blowing out the right side. So I don't know. It's just a different perspective that I thought was really interesting that I kind of wanted to bring to the table.
Yeah, and I'm not a guy that is all about these symbols are evil or nothing, but they are powerful through a belief system that gets used. So I'm not like freaked out of symbols or whatever, but I do think it's a language that is being spoken. So there's the story for the masses, and then there's the story for the people that understand it, which is the occult, right? The hidden. It's that. And speaking of celebrities, because that's like a topic I really like you got Avril Lavigne right here, and her name's Avril, and she looks just like Verena Orsic of the Thule Society. I mean, identical. And she was been told to be a clone, which is connected to the whole alien thing. But that slide that you brought up, this is what's very, very important to this religion that's being set up is April 19th is the day that Taylor Swift is going to release her new album. Interesting date because April 19th, it goes into a lot of tragedies happen around this time. You got Waco, Oklahoma on this date. I believe The Simpsons aired its first episode. And Marge is a bunny on top of that with all their insights with Harry Shears, who's Mr. Burns, sitting at these lakeside talks with politicians and governments and whatnot over in California. But April 19th, everyone knows 420, right? Oh, 420. Everyone knows that date. But April 19th is National Bicycle Day. And that is pretty much the schizogenic day. They call these tabs of LSD schizogenics because it resembled that, but then they propaganda it into LSD, which was pushed onto the culture, to create the hippie movement to really control the masses through an MK Ultra. So you got the masses in an MK Ultra today with like the lean, the purple drink up in my cup, 84s when I'm pulling up, right? The purple frequency. And this guy, Hoffman is who they say invented LSD. And even in the movie They Live, about the aliens controlling, they put on the Hoffman lenses and then they can see the aliens or whatever. And he is an expert on the road to Eleusis, which is the Eleusinian mysteries, which is these cults that worship the earth, the mother goddess, right? Going back to that whole storyline of UNESCO and all that. And you could tie it all the way back to these cults who did a lot of weird stuff, but they did this weird ritual with doing these certain mind altering chemicals through the plants and whatnot. And he is like the expert on the Eleusinian mysteries with other people like Gordon Wasson. Gordon Wasson was the vice president to JP Morgan. So you got these military industrial complex, MK Ultra, weird experiments, banking system, but they want you to have spiritual experiences and be happy, but they're connected to all this evil stuff as well. So right there, it just doesn't make any sense. And so what I'm getting at is that the celebrities push it, the podcasters that have all the alien stuff push these certain chemicals, because what they want to do is reset the autonomic nervous system of the Abrahamic belief system into the new belief system of this new religion, this new doomsday cult.
Yep, replace Jesus and God with a bunch of extraterrestrial entities that created us and evolved us from apes and monkeys to get us into a new paradigm. That's what it really seems like. I mean, all of the motifs and the modalities from supposed extraterrestrials that these people have supposedly been channeling, like you just brought up Marina Orsnick, or whatever her last name is. I get her confused with Marina Abramovich, but
Right.
I mispronounce her name sometimes. Yeah, that lady there on the right. She was also a channeler. She also supposedly channeled extraterrestrials and aliens as well. So,
Yeah, yeah. And she connected to big governments as well. It's just absolutely nuts. The connections to all of this. I'm just trying to look through my slides, but Area 51 is interesting because they had Storm Area 51. And I was looking into Storm Area 51 because I'm like, why is a Facebook event all over the news? And that's something I learned from working at these news stations, is that the parroting of Fox, CNN, they all saying the same thing, promoting this big event. 1 month before the world changed forever. So I saw whenever some sort of alien thing happens, a big event is connected with it. The world changed forever after Storm Area 51.
Yeah, and then I think that the guy that set that up got he changed the plans because apparently it was actually supposed to happen near Area 51, and some investors or some people got involved in it, and then they switched the meeting place to LA, and it was just a big giant drug-filled alcoholic party in
Mhm.
LA, and very few people ended up going to Area 51.
Yeah, and this number 5-1, right? Jordan Maxwell called it the Mayday call, right? Well, Mayday is a distress call, but 5-1 is the founding of like the Illuminati Norden or whatever they called it in Bavaria. That was the founding date. It wasn't actually when it was created, because it was created much later, like 20 years later or so, when it was built. But on this date, 5-1 is when the aliens invaded Las Vegas. And the girl who saw the aliens on the plane, that MFer is not real. The big viral meme, because there's something about memes to get into the psyche. That happened on National UFO Day. It happened on 7/2 on American Airlines, which is the AA, which goes into Aleister Crowley's Twin Peaks. Like there's the show Twin Peaks. It's the two mountains, which could be Venus and Adonis as well, mixing them together. So just stuff that I look at, the information is not, static. It continuously keeps on moving too. So.
And Adonis Creed is, as I pulled it up in the chat earlier, Adonis Creed is the son to Apollo Creed. So I was right. I didn't know too much about it, but I got it right. I didn't watch any of the Creed movies or any of that. I didn't even see the first one or the second one. I only seen like Rocky 2 like a couple of times in my
Yeah.
life.
Rocky's good. Rocky, the first one.
Yeah,
Like,
Netflix just did a documentary series on Sylvester Stallone. Very,
yeah,
very interesting stuff.
yeah. It's a low budget film. They hired Trauma Studios to film some of the scenes, and I'm a huge fan of Lloyd Kaufman and the Toxic Avenger. And I would say that was actually the beginning of my waking to questioning reality. Was the Toxic Avenger.
Well, Sylvester Stallone directed all of those Rocky movies. He was like, yeah, studios don't want to pick this up. I'll just do it myself, which I think
Mhm.
is incredible. It's almost identical to what George Lucas did. No one believed in the Star Wars idea that he had, so he created his own production company and did it himself. It became a huge hit. Same with Rocky and Sylvester Stallone.
Mhm. Yeah. Sylvester Stallone, that story is really cool. I guess he just believed in the film so much that I don't know if the story is true or propaganda, but he sold his dog so he can even do it. And then once he made all the money, he bought his dog back. But he had a vision, and I love cinema. I love movies. I talk a lot of crap about movies, but I love movies when they're done right, because it is a form of art, and it's not just your normal art. That's why I really enjoyed watching your movie, because you get the elements of story writing. So you got writing, you got audio, you got music, you got directing, you got acting, you got all the different arts into one package. And when it's put together perfectly, it's an awesome thing. So I'm a big fan of movies.
Yeah, me too. I've always enjoyed movies and the writing style and the editing style. I mean, if I wouldn't have ever seen a movie before, then I wouldn't have been able to create my movie. JFKX, which I adore, and it's my first big project like that. So I'm really happy that you enjoyed it. You just watched it last night, right?
Well, I watched it this morning. I'm on a weird sleep schedule where like I fell asleep last night for like an hour and I woke up like at like in the morning, like at 1 a.m. I'll put the movie on. I slept maybe for another 3 hours, woke up, came up on here. So after this, maybe I'll be on a good sleep schedule.
That's right. All right, you got the Eye of Horus up here
Yeah.
on the slide.
So last year, on this date, actually, February 6th, February 5th in America, they had the Grammys. Yesterday, we had the Grammys, and it looks like Toby Keith passed away. There's always a weird celebrity passing during the Grammys. Kobe Bryant, for example, passed away during the Grammys. Whitney Houston during the Grammys, she was just soaking in a bath, you know. So you got these weird, it seems like Hollywood Babylon rituals going on. But what happened last year on Adam Weishaupt's birthday, February 6th, in Bavaria, because it happened at 5, which was February 6th there. An earthquake in Turkey happened, and the Grammys was starting at sunset, and Set gouges out Horus's eye. And I feel like there's symbolism here with some sort of weather stuff going on. There was this crazy earthquake, and rest in peace to everybody that passed away because it was terrible. But during the Grammys this year, you had a flood, a record flood in California. Something with flooding and water. I'm trying to figure out what that ritual was, but it seems to be some sort of baptism of maybe washing away some sins of their last performance of the Satanic Grammys with that going on. Very blatant. And this year it was more occult. It was more hidden. But you got these weird weather events that have been taking place during these shows, and I think it is connected, and I'm not sure what it is, but I keep on looking.
Noble Truth says X reminds me of the puppeteers in the string. Maybe it's a show. Whoever uses the X. Well, Noble Truth, thanks for your comment, and thank you for being a channel member. Me and Jay Widener had the title JFKX like months and months and months before Twitter, before Elon bought Twitter and turned it into X. So we were ahead of the game.
And then, you know, JFK was removed on a giant trident as well. So like he's on a huge trident. The two towers that collapsed were built upon giant tridents, and the 23rd letter is the trident. And through these Greek letters, all the stuff that happened over the last few years, they were named after these Greek letters. And then once we got onto the 23rd letter, we got all this trident stuff happening in the news with Biden, who is like a Bident, which is connected to Pluto. And then he went to battle, bringing up the trident country on Pluto's return on 2222222. So there's a lot of weird old mythologies happening with these storylines that are coming out in the news. And we're going into 2024, right? We're in 2024, which is the Omega. And I believe there's going to be a huge Omega event. I think it has something to do with water, which could be currency or the internet through these symbols. That probably didn't make any sense. But that's why I like movies, because when you say stuff and you show the symbols and the slides, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a visual representation of exactly what you're talking about. I mean, me and Jay could not have made JFKX with just talking about it. It had to have a visual representation of it as well, or people wouldn't get it and wouldn't understand it. So we had to show the Zapruder film and show all the evidence and everything that we present in the movie, or it wouldn't have hit as hard as it did. But also JFK, the supposed assassination of JFK happening on the 33-degree parallel
Hmm.
as well. Yeah.
Have you looked into these ley lines a lot?
The ley line thing is very interesting. What do you have on it?
So the 33rd parallel, these ley lines, they're very important to like the Templars and all this, like picking out certain locations for certain energy points of the earth. And it's absolutely like a real thing. There's some more energy or magnetic stuff happening at certain different points of the earth. But the 36 ley line is something I've been looking at the last year. With its connections to Memphis, Tennessee. Like Tennessee sits on the 36th parallel. And going through this parallel, all the rituals have been connected to this. That's where the Super Bowl is going to be taking place, on this 36th ley line. The biggest fertility ritual, and who knows, maybe there'll be another UFO balloon that flies above it, which was showcased in Matthew Barney, who was married to Bjork, another celebrity, a musician, showcased this in his Cremaster Cycle films. Don't Google it because that's a dirty word, so weird things will pop up. But you can look up Matthew Barney's, then you should be safe there. But through these fashion shows, they're showcasing new technologies. Through the Grammys last year, they're showing the quantum computers. And this 36 ley line at the Super Bowl happening this year in Paradise, Nevada. I'm super deep right now in this 128 number and the 36 ley line. So it sounds weird and crazy, but there's so many connections just leading me to this 128 number. That's when the year of the dragon ends on January 28th. I said, look out for January 28th a couple weeks ago. Something big gonna happen. And something big did happen. You have that event going on at Tower 22 and Elon Musk making his first cyborg with the Neuralink. I could go in for days and days. So the next date I'm looking out for is February 18th for some event to happen.
That's interesting because Elon Musk, they just did put that the Neuralink implant into a human for the first time. He was experimenting on monkeys and everything before that, and now it's in the first trial period into a human. I think that happened just last Monday, I think, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on January 28th, which is 128, Leave the World Behind was released on 12/8, 128. Julia Roberts' birthday's 10/28, 128. And Biden texted out the emergency text at 2:18. So I'm looking out for 2:18. And this might sound like, oh, that's crazy, but it's pattern recognition. The Hawaii text message alert was released at 8:08. And then a few years later, on 8:08 at the 8:08 area code, Lahaina happened.
I was going to bring up True Detective Night Country, but that's Jodie Foster in in that new season of True Detective.
I'm watching Twin Peaks right now. I don't know if you ever seen that show.
No, I haven't, but I've heard it's really good.
It is. It is good. At first, I couldn't handle it. I was like, this is too weird, like 3-4 times. But it's because it's David Lynch. And I remember House of Cards. the first episode. A lot of people can't get through the first episode of House. Have you watched House of Cards?
No, I haven't. I watched Orange is the New Black instead of
So,
House of Cards. People
yeah,
can come at me, bro. I like Orange is the New Black. Okay, whatever.
yeah, nothing wrong with that. House of Cards though, it's people can't get through the first episode because it was directed by David Lynch, and he's brilliant at his filmmaking skills because there's this element in that show where he has the president in the beginning. There's a dog, and he kills the dog. But he kills the dog in a vicious way, but he's also doing it so the dog's not in pain because the dog was in pain. So now you're like messed up in your head. Is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? So it's very psychological, and I like that psychological that makes you like question things. But the weird predictive programming in that is that his wife becomes the 47th president. And then you got the 47 proposition, which is the Masonic compass. And we're coming up onto the 47th president. So if that was predictive programming, because he's in the news right now, and let's say Biden, maybe he has to retire, and then Kamala becomes the 47th president, that would imitate that show to a T because his wife becomes the 47th president. In Lahaina, they were talking about the tree that survived with the 47 trunks on it. So you can see this. The numerology plays a big role in the occult. So it sounds crazy saying the words, and I understand that, but it's pattern recognition.
I thought David Lynch directed Fight Club, but I guess I'm wrong. Did he not? That was David Fincher. Yeah, David Fincher, not David Lynch. David Lynch is a bunch of lot of TV stuff. He didn't really direct too many movies, did he?
He did movies. Yeah, he did Dune. His movies are a trip. He definitely knows the occult, and he's probably a big magician or something.
Yeah, he did Twin Peaks, Dune, Lost Highway, Rabbits.
Eraserhead was, and that story of Eraserhead is interesting because he was a filmmaker and he was filming this, and I love the stories of the come up of a director. And he was working on this film, and it was really out there and weird. But then, like, he just had a kid, and then he got a job, and he didn't finish the film until later. And then he finally finished the film years and years later, and then it became a huge success. I just love hearing stories, and I like these old films too, especially Ingmar Bergman films that are really good.
I do too, because it's like the cinematography is real, the storytelling is real. It doesn't have all this weird cutaway TMZ type of doing things, like this weird editing. Like they know how to frame a subject and stay on that subject. Like Stanley Kubrick, probably one of the best directors of all time. I mean, some people could probably argue with it, but I think that he was definitely one of the best directors ever. Because
what you named your company, Cube Brick?
Well, that's Jay Widener's company.
Oh, that is okay.
He started all of the moon landing stuff with Stanley Kubrick in, I think, 2011. He's the one that started all that. The Stanley Kubrick filmed the moon landing.
Well, shout out to Mark at My Family Thinks I'm Crazy, because I know he connected us, and he brought up a film called If, I-F, period. And what an interesting film, because that was the whole motivation for Stanley Kubrick's Mind Control Clockwork Orange film. He took all the elements of that movie, and you can see it in the film. I love The Shining too. The Shining go hard.
That's what our next film is going to be about, is Stanley Kubrick and The Shining and MK Ultra.
Yeah, yeah. I love movies. I love Stanley Kubrick, Shining. This movie If was nuts.
I'll have to
I
check that
watched.
out. It's just called If. Is it on
Yeah,
anything streaming or?
I had to buy it on Amazon Prime, but I really enjoyed it. Another good movie to check out is called, I think it's called The Seventh Seal, and it's the old one by Igmar Bergman, a German director. It's in black and white because they made an updated one. Very good. I mean, people like, this is like the guy that Quentin Tarantino, Woody Allen, they all admire. So going back to like these older directors, but the way that they put these movies together, it's absolutely nuts. And there's so much truth in it.
Yeah.
Symbolic.
What do you think of Quentin Tarantino? I like Quentin Tarantino as a director. I think he's a phenomenal director because he keeps it old school. He shoots everything in camera, very little CGI.
Yeah. So,
We actually have some clips from Quentin Tarantino's movie in JFKX,
oh, okay.
showing the practical effects
Hmm. Yeah.
that
So,
Quentin Tarantino uses.
yeah, Quentin Tarantino, we named these directors as if they were one person. Um, he's the director and the writer, but he uses the same cinematographer in every film. He uses the same video editor in every film, but it switched off when Django came out because she passed away. So what we're liking is this collaboration of a four-man team in these films. So you see Tom Hanks interview, you're like, who is this guy? He's not Forrest Gump. He's not this awesome, like, uh, you've got Mel, lovely guy. He's a totally different person because you really like Steven Spielberg directing him. So Quentin Tarantino, I like his come up story of working at Blockbuster, writing True Romance, getting the $100,000 check, and then that movie doing good. And I like his storylines, the cinematography, but it's not just him that's dope. It's all these elements of the writer, the cinematographer, and all that. But yeah, I like his movies for sure.
What's
I
your
really like
favorite?
Death Proof a lot. My favorite Tarantino film would be Jackie Brown. I like that one.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like the
That's an
sound.
interesting pick.
Yeah, it's the soundtrack is so good and it's so realistic. If you've, because I've been in, like, I'm in recovery, so being in addiction, that's exactly how it is. His other films are, I like them, but I'm not a samurai. I can't do backflips and I'm not going robbing banks and stuff. But it's just a story of just your common person trying to like manipulate and maneuver to get an outcome goal. Have you seen that movie, Jackie Brown?
Yes, Jackie
Okay.
Brown. I've seen every one of his films besides his new one. I haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yet.
Oh, fabulous film too. Oh my goodness. That might be one of my favorites too, because I won't spoil it, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's on Hulu right now. It's like 3 hours long. I just haven't had the. If I would have went and seen it in the theaters, it probably would have been different. But it's like finding the time to like sit down and watch a 3 hour long movie. I'm gonna watch it eventually. I'm definitely gonna watch it on Hulu. But I would say my favorite is Django Unchained, dude. I just love Django Unchained.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
good. I just like it, dude. And I love Leonardo DiCaprio. I think he's a phenomenal actor. I
Well,
love Inception. I love Christopher Nolan too. He's people can say, "Oh, well, he's a propagandist." Blah 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 blah. Whatever. He makes good movies, dude. I don't care.
well, that's the other thing is that yeah, for sure. He speaks at the UN and all that. But this Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he's the star in it. So it's good. Yeah, Django and Chain, that was nuts.
And Jamie Foxx and Samuel L. Jackson. It was just a well put together film. The Hateful Eight was supposed to have been a sequel
Oh,
to
to Django.
Django, but then apparently the script got leaked online, and Tarantino went in and changed all the characters, and he brought in Samuel L. Jackson when it was supposed to be Jamie Foxx in Samuel L. Jackson's role.
I didn't like that movie.
I didn't really either.
I don't even think I finished that movie. But yeah, that's nuts. Something I forgot popped in my head and disappeared, but it was a horror film, I think. Django Unchained. Oh yeah. So I like Death Proof, that film where they made it like a grindhouse double feature with Robert Rodriguez, who also
Yes.
has an amazing story of El Mariachi and hiring just like Mexicans trying to look for work that didn't speak English and just film them like doing the action packed. And he went on to create Spy Kids and through his filmmaking. But they had Planet Terror and Death Proof, and I like that they had Eli Roth in it as well, who I also like. Eli Roth.
Eli Roth just got gory for absolutely no reason, though. He just went off the deep end on all of his gore. What was that one? Green Inferno? It's the dumbest movie I've ever seen, dude. I couldn't even make it 30 minutes into the movie. And I don't mind gory stuff. I don't mind horror, but it was just like gory and horror for absolutely no reason. Even the Saw franchise has some sort of moral to the story, even though it's like super gory. You know, there's a lesson there. There is no lesson in Green Inferno.
But the thing is that was a remake of an old film called Cannibal, and it's the H word. I'm not going to say it. It's called Cannibal and the H word. And this was an independent film, and the filmmakers got arrested and put in jail because people thought it was real. It was a mockumentary, but that's what the Green Inferno is about. So I liked it just because of the history of where it was coming from. But if I just turned on that movie and watched it, I would have been in that same camp for sure. But he did Cabin Fever, so he mixed in this comedy element in his films to it all. Yeah.
I liked Cabin Fever. Really interesting movie. They came out with a sequel to that too, Cabin Fever 2. It wasn't as good as the first one, but Noble Truth says has Donut seen Capricorn 1? I don't think I've seen it.
No, but I'll order it right now while we're live.
Capricorn 1, baby. I don't know.
It's a 1978 film.
I was just talking with Noble Truth earlier about the movie Scanners. Have you seen that movie? That old movie from like, I think the 70s, Scanners, where psychics would blow people up with their mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's a classic.
Yeah. I love these films. I love love these movies and films. I like Werner Herzog as well.
Director?
Yeah, he's made so many movies, but he was most famous for Grizzly Man. But I like his storylines. He does one called it's called Nomad. It's a documentary. It's not like a movie. There's two movies called Nomad, but it's Werner Herzog, and he's from the city of Danzig, and Danzig was occupied. It was an anarchist state and was occupied by the Third Realm. So that kind of like, that's a whole story. You even got Danzig from the Misfits, but interesting upbringing. And he made this documentary called Nomad, where this guy goes to this certain ley line that's magnetic. So clocks be all weird. If they put up like a piece of like metal or something, it'll move towards the magnetic stuff. So it kind of shows proof of the ley lines and how it's magnetic. That's not what the movie's about, but I thought that was interesting. And they also brought up how GPS systems in those days were songs. So people would walk, and the song they sung was MapQuest. So they'd be like, the tree is over here and the rock is over there. When you're close to the rock, there, like that was their song.
Wow. Dana D says, I just had a thought. I wonder if there's a connection to Betty and Barney alien story with Betty and Barney in the Flintstones.
Well,
Yeah.
there's definitely a Masonic connection there.
I haven't watched the Flintstones in a really long time. I'd have to go back and check it out. But the names are very correlating there.
Oh yeah, Herzog did Nosferatu. Anna said that movie was dope too. I just love the way he makes movies.
What do you think is the best film studio going on right now? I think A24 is probably
Yeah,
one of the better ones.
A24 is definitely doing the best films and work, but I really like South Korean movies.
Mm.
They're very talented with cinematography. There's a passion still there, and they still break the rules. You could even see their propaganda of questioning the authority and the adults, because that's something that is very important in like the Asian cultures, which is not important today in our culture, but all cultures all throughout history seems to respect their elders, and we don't today. And so it could be some sort of propaganda brainwashing to corrupt the society. But in the stage of where it's at right now, it's very freedom based artistically, in my opinion. So their films are much better than American films, which we have political correctness, which is mind control, which blocks creativity.
Yeah, Asian cinema is very unique. Battle Royale is one of my favorites of Asian cinema. Battle Royale 2. There's there's quite a few really good horror films that come out of Asia as well that I really like.
Yeah, me too. I even really like the Squid Games as well.
I never watched the Squid Games. It became super popular, so I never really gave it a shot or a chance. But Blumhouse too. Blumhouse seems to be doing really well.
Yeah, and they're like connected with A20. It seems like Bloomhouse, whatever it's called, is connected to A24.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully, there will be more interesting films that are coming out with all the writer strikes and all the actor strikes and all that stuff that was going on. Hopefully, we'll make better and more creative content, and directors and people will be able to take a bigger chance and a bigger shot with it.
Have you seen Train to Busan that Flux just brought up, that zombie flick?
Love Train to Busan.
Me too.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that new Godzilla movie is fantastic as well. Did you see it?
Yeah, and they're releasing a lot of Godzilla stuff, and it's like talking about the Hollow Earth, Agartha, which goes into like the occult. So like the cinemagicians definitely know the occult. It's all in their works and their
And that
films.
movie was made for very cheap. See, I think that's what's killing Hollywood at the moment is they're pumping so much money into all these movies and they're not doing good. Like
Right.
you can make a movie for relatively cheap. I mean,
Hmm.
Godzilla minus one was made for very little money. I think it was a little over $1 million. Don't quote me on that. I would have to bring it up, but it was very cheaply made. A lot of these Marvel movies and all these superhero action movies, there's like millions and millions of dollars that are pumped into
Hmm.
these things, and they're garbage.
Because it's the creativity. When you're like a guerrilla filmmaker or in guerrilla warfare or whatever, you have to use your imagination. So somebody with nothing to lose, like independent filmmakers like us, we have to become more creative because we don't have the budget to be like, yo, I need this, I need this, I need this. So we got to use our creative faculties to do something. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope things move forward in a better light, and I hope that independent filmmakers become highly popular, and I hope people support others' work and help them grow and create more content, because I think that that's really where it lies. I think the baton is now being passed to uh, everyday people and independent people. I mean, podcasts and shows like this and shows like yours are more popular than a lot of mainstream things. So I think we have a good thing to look forward to, and hopefully it keeps going down in this path. And thank you, Donut, for coming on and sharing all this information. We probably could talk for another hour, but I know you didn't get a lot of sleep last night, and you probably want to catch up on your rest. And I got to
Thank
hit the
you.
gym. Got to hit the gym and go grocery shopping. So thanks so much for coming on, brother. Really appreciate your time this evening. Can you let people know where to find you?
You can find me at Doenut. Just Google that, DOE-NUT. Subscribe to my YouTube because I'll be releasing our podcast. I'm going to edit it like a movie, and that should be out next month.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The link is in the description to check out Donut's work. Thanks so much, everyone here. Loretta, Spiritual Genie, Noble Truth, Susie, Dana D, Gesture, and anybody else that I did not pull. Flux Capacitor, Jessica, Jay, Anna. Good to see you guys. Thanks you all for being here. And please be sure to hit the thumbs up button to help the channel and the algorithm. Share, subscribe, hit the bell icon as well for notifications, and check out my film JFKX on Amazon Prime. If you're outside of the United States, you can get it on Vimeo. If you're in Canada or in Australia, I believe you can watch it on Tubi for free. The links to all that is in the description, and we'll see you guys next time.